Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Meet The Bytes. In this episode, I have Nataly Merezhuk. Did I say that right?
Yep.
Yes, I said it right. Yes, we have Nataly here, who was part of the formerly named User Success Team, which is now called the Community Assistance Team. Nataly, thank you for joining me on this interview. Yes, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited for this. Thanks for having me.
No, I appreciate it. After hearing your story, though, so you might know this person. This person's name is Jerry, and this person is the head of not the youth team of the CAT team, community assistance team. You might know Jerry, and Jerry mentioned just a little bit of your background, which got me so excited. And so, first of all, for people who don't know you, you're part of the community assistance team, right?
Yeah.
Formerly known as the user success team.
Yep.
So you were a user success engineer, but now you're a community assistance engineer.
Exactly.
I'm still trying to get this down. Yes.
Oh, me too.
How recent was that? Was that like 3 weeks ago?
I feel like it was because Jerry's my manager, and I feel like we discussed this maybe in July or August. So it's been a little while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So a little longer than that. Well, anyway, I want to welcome you here. So Jerry recommends you for this interview because of your journey into tech, right? So prior to being here at Airbyte, you were a front-end developer, right? You worked with JavaScript. I want to go even back before that. Before being a professional engineer, what were you doing for a living before joining tech?
So before that, I was working full-time as a freelance jazz violinist.
Wow.
And it was super fun.
How many years did you do that for?
So I've been a classical violinist my whole life. Graduated in 2017, and that's when I started learning jazz. So I think from like 2018 to 2020, it was full-time jazz. Yeah.
And did you go to school for that too?
I just went to school for classical violin.
Okay. Well, so this is something you just wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like you want to do. I mean, I'm sure. Do you still play like here and there?
Oh yeah, I have a few really awesome shows coming up in the DC area, so I'm
that is
definitely
amazing.
Keeping at it.
Yes. Okay. That's exciting. Okay. So I have a question, right? So being a professional violinist and being paid to do that for a living, right? Why did you move into tech? Right. You still play the violin. You're still participating in shows. But my question is like, what caused the transition to tech? What happened there?
Very simple. It was the pandemic.
Wow. Okay. So it was a pandemic. How so? Like, I mean, obviously, even the movies closed down. You couldn't watch movie shows. Concerts went the same way. Even conferences in tech weren't around anymore during the pandemic. So you're saying pretty much there's just no more jobs?
Yeah, I actually even remember the day, and I don't usually remember dates ever, but I remember
Me
this
too.
one.
I'm very bad at that.
But yeah, I remember it was I think Friday, March 13th or something like that. And we were in the middle of an opera production, and this was a classical gig, so with a chamber orchestra, pit orchestra, and first they told us that we were going to spread out more. Then the next day they were like, we're not doing lunch in here anymore. And then on Friday they were like, actually, we're canceling this opera. And then all the other gigs that I had scheduled for the next month or two, they all called or emailed, and they were like, we're just canceling everything. So yeah, it was really scary, but it made me look around and look for people that were okay. And I saw that the people that were okay were software engineers, and so I decided that I needed to, start studying.
First of all, I could only imagine how scary that was. I was my second year in tech, maybe it was my third year. Actually, no, sorry, I lied. My fourth year in tech as a mid-level front-end engineer, and that's when I was laid off during the pandemic too.
Wow.
But for me, I feel like my life changed for the better, maybe by 10 times better, right? Because that happened during the pandemic. And what's really interesting is that I've seen a lot of startups and companies grow even more because of the pandemic, right? So like I can only imagine how you felt at that time to lose your job. I mean, I could relate to that, right? how did you feel as that happened though? Like you lost your job. Um, like what was happening at that moment before even deciding to go into tech? What were your thoughts? I'm curious.
Honestly, just because I had never been through something like that before, and I was like, what was it, 2020? So like 3 years out of school ish. So not a lot of, just like life experience. It was very scary, and I wasn't sure what to do. I was just like waiting to see, like, oh, like maybe this shutdown will last for a few weeks and then it'll be over. Yeah, but also I think furiously sewing masks and like, figuring all of that out, reading the New York Times.
Yeah, doing whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so this is so interesting because you had no. I'm assuming you had zero intention of getting into tech ever, right? Because you're set, violinist. That's it. Rest of my life, no
That's
interest.
true. Yeah, I did try a few times before to learn how to code just because my parents are software engineers,
Mm-hmm.
and they always said, it's like so useful, you should try it. Tried Code Academy I think a few times, but I never got past like the first like HTML tutorial. So I had no knowledge. Yeah, very very fresh.
So then, how did you even get into it then? Like, you were laid off. Did you go to a coding boot camp? Self taught? How did this happen?
Thought about boot camps. I looked at the prices. Could not afford the prices. Then I looked at I think it was the Ada Developers Academy, which is a great free one from what I understand. But the deadline had passed. So it just wasn't working out. And so I decided to start studying just by myself. It was really hard at first because I started with the wrong thing. I started with React, like before I knew anything else. And I just didn't
Hold
know.
on. hold on. So, as a front end developer, the first, I mean, it's not even a markup language. The first language, a programming language, you decided to first learn a programming language, JavaScript.
So it's because like I was so ignorant and new to the whole thing.
That's
I
okay.
just
Yeah,
didn't
a lot of
know.
us were.
Yeah, and that's how the internet
Wow.
was, right? And maybe it still is. It's like, learn React in 5 minutes
Oh
and you'll
gosh.
get a job. And I was like, yes, I want
Oh.
that. So I think it took me like 2 or 3 weeks to realize it was the right thing to learn. And then I went back to HTML and CSS.
Yes, and then vanilla JavaScript.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, that's the right. And what did you used to learn at that time?
I know people have different approaches. What worked for me was watching YouTube and then just going on walks and listening to YouTube and to podcasts. And it wouldn't matter to me, like, doesn't matter if it's a good tutorial, bad tutorial, like, whatever it is, just getting the concepts in my ear. And so I would walk and listen to how to make an HTML page and then listen to the next one that YouTube suggested. And eventually I started like, recognizing concepts.
Wow. Okay. And just to clarify, what were you doing during this time then? Like, you have to live, you have to survive, you have to eat.
Yeah, so
That's not
I
easy.
had it was really scary. I was fortunate enough that my parents were able to support me financially, like
Nice.
because they knew I lost all my work, and it took me a little while between when I lost all my work and I was able to get unemployment, because that's what I did eventually. But yeah, I was just super frugal. I was living in Baltimore. Baltimore is a great place.
I'm curious though. Okay. Who did you watch on YouTube when it came to just learning things about tech?
I knew you would ask this. I should have made a list, but like off the top of my head, I remember David was
Dev.
really good,
Mm-hmm.
but he just rambles on and like makes mistakes. And that's cool to see sometimes, but sometimes you just need to like learn how to do it right.
Yeah.
But he was great. Brad
Brad Trap.
Traversy.
Everyone, of
That
course.
that was my favorite. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
great. And then Web Dev Simplified.
Yes.
I think those were the
Wow.
main ones. And then I
They
listened to
they have really good
podcasts.
courses. Okay.
Yeah.
And what podcast?
The main one that I loved was the Code Newbie podcast.
Yes, code newbie. Okay.
Uh-huh. And then also syntax.
Okay. Wow, wow. So you really went all out. That's great. And you didn't take any courses anywhere. It was primarily YouTube that you used to learn how to code.
It was primarily that, and then
Wow.
eventually, yeah, eventually I decided that I wanted to get a degree, and so I started taking classes at the community college.
Mm,
I think around like September 2020. I took a like an intro to CS course with C++, and a Python course.
nice.
Yeah, but then I kind of stopped taking the courses and started just like studying myself because it felt so different. Like the constrained curriculum, and all of that. It didn't feel at the time like it directly applied to like web developer jobs, and so I decided that I would
Hmm.
save some money and self study.
Yeah, no, that's amazing because um, a lot of I mentor quite a few friend developers myself, and a lot of them, they buy a lot of courses. It's not primarily YouTube, right? Because a lot of time content on YouTube is outdated. But that's amazing. Okay, you lose your job, your parents are helping you, right? Survive day to day. You're learning code, right? Like your life depends on it. Like literally, you're even watching tutorials
Hmm.
and listening to podcasts while taking walks. That's amazing. So, how long did it take you to actually get your first job, from learning code to actually getting your just being paid?
I think it was 16 months. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Because so over the summer I was able to gig a bit and earn some money and like get on unemployment and like just like calm down a bit, and like study in a calmer way. And then during the winter COVID got more intense again. But so in I want to say May 2021, I met somebody at a jazz jam that I went to.
Wow. Okay.
And I made a super silly app. It was like, because the thing with jazz musicians is you play a tune and then you sit around and you're like, well, what do we play next?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't remember any tunes. Like, why are you asking me? Like, those kinds of things. And so I made an app that you would click a button and it would suggest a tune. And so I was going around the jazz jams showing everybody my silly app. And this one guy was like, oh, I know somebody who might be hiring. And so
Wow.
he referred me to another wonderful guy, and so well, I went through the interview process, and then I was fortunate enough to get the job.
Is
So
this your first job as an Angular developer?
yes.
But I'm assuming you didn't actually like learn Angular. I'm assuming you probably learned React like everyone else after learning vanilla JavaScript, and you still got the job working in Angular.
I did because during the interview process they focused on um asking me about, I guess, basic overall JavaScript concepts and programming and logic questions.
Okay, and then after that, and I'm just really curious. Then you moved on. I believe like not too long after that, you got your first like full time position, right? Like,
So the Angular position was full
oh,
time.
that was full time. Okay, okay. Oh, so
Mhm.
that was full time. Okay, and then you got your second job, and now you're working as a gosh, not user success engineer. You're a community assistance engineer now, formerly community success engineer. Now you're
Mhm.
working, um, doing that very thing here at Airbyte. Really want to ask, what is your just your I don't know how else to ask it, your lifestyle difference, right? Just your life
Mhm.
from working as a classical or violin, working as a violinist
Mhm.
to now working as an engineer. Like, what was the life difference compared between those two? Because I'm assuming things are like health benefits, a big difference, and etc.
Mhm.
But yeah, what does the before and after look like with you?
I think obviously as a freelancer, it's either feast or famine, right? You have to take all the gigs that you can get. And if you don't, and you might be financially okay, but mentally it's really hard to
The anxiety.
set boundaries, right?
Mm,
Yeah.
mm-hmm.
So I think that has been the biggest thing for me where now I'm able to set boundaries, and when I get called for gigs, I can be like, well, maybe this isn't, maybe I don't have to take this gig. Maybe I can save
Mm.
that time, practice more, do something else, and then aim for a different gig,
Yeah.
So I think that has been the biggest difference. Like, trying to play bigger venues, bigger shows, and play them further apart instead of gigging every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the mental difference has been just like staggering.
I
Very,
mean, I
very
can only
big.
imagine. And the competition to get those gigs too must be fierce, right? I mean, getting a job in tech is fierce too. The competition's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now that you work here at Airbite, and I'm curious from what you've experienced so far, because I don't work in the not used team. Oh my, cat. We call it the cat, right? Cat team.
Yeah, the cat
We
team.
call it the
That's
cat
great.
team. So, how has that experience been for you since joining the company 5 months ago?
So it's been really, really wonderful. I really like it. It's been really eye-opening because what I do every day is I interact with developers that are using Airbyte, and it's interesting to see like all the different use cases and like what they're doing with it. Um, Also, it's been fascinating, like as because like I was working front end, and as you have said before, like switching, looking at the back end, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
so different, and so I get to see
Different.
how all the databases work and those database connectors work, and
Yes.
it's
Or what a
it's
connector is.
very yeah, exactly. Um, so it's been fascinating. I really like it. Also, the cat team is just like super friendly. Jerry is a wonderful leader. So it's been the best learning and just like thriving environment.
No, I'm really happy to hear that, and I'm curious to see what is the difference between working as a full stack front end developer and working on the cat team. What are the primary
So it
differences?
is very different,
Mm-hmm.
and I made this switch because I really admire Airbyte as a company, because it's not a fully engineering role. Um, it is a partially engineering role. It's about half and half engineering and half, I guess, assisting and building community of the people that use our product. So, in that sense, that is the main difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, your team is so important to the community, especially right. With working with fellow developers, etc. Um, how about the culture here at Airbite? How has that been for you compared to let's bring it up a notch compared to the other companies you worked at as a full stack developer, as an Angular developer? How is the culture here at Airbite? I'm curious from your point of view.
I think Airbyte is the first true startup, I guess, that I've worked at, and it's um I really like the culture. I really like how people interact with one another. I love the off-site meetings. I've been to two at this point. Got to meet my team in India in August, and then I was at the off-site in Mexico in September.
Oh,
I'm
you were there
assuming
during
you're
the
going.
earthquake.
I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I can only imagine. Yes, I'm going there. I'm leaving on Monday for Mexico.
Okay. Good luck.
Nice.
But yeah, it's just been really wonderful. Because I think a lot of companies, from what I read, they strive to have like a really friendly and inclusive, kind of vibe. And to me, it feels like Airbyte actually has it, and we're working. We're always working on making it real.
Yeah. Now, I think the culture is amazing. Everyone's really great to work with, and um, everyone works very hard, which
Mm-hmm.
only pushes me to work even harder. Like, no, I'm not going to be the only one that's not working hard. No way. I see everyone working so hard. Makes me push myself to a lot of freedom plus responsibility on top of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have as much freedom as we have, which we have a lot of freedom here, it comes with a lot of responsibility too, right? Just make sure we get our stuff
Mm-hmm.
done. So that's amazing. And if there was only one thing that you can share in regards to your experience so far, you've been here for what, 5 months, approaching 6 months?
No, it's actually 4 months, I
Oh,
think.
okay, 4 months. Okay,
Let's see, started in June, so July, August, September, October. Yeah, it's pretty much, yeah,
four
four
months,
months
approaching
and two
five.
days.
So 4 months. Okay, LinkedIn, you're wrong. So they said they add 5 months because of the extra 2 days. But so
Uh,
you've been here for over 4 months. What are one of the most challenging things that you'd say that you're working on right now?
Kubernetes.
Ah,
But
yes.
I mean that is a given. But otherwise, let's see. I think just making sure that our community members feel like they are well supported, because sometimes the questions that they ask or the errors that they have, they take a bit more time to just like dig into them, you know? And so just like getting better at digging in like quicker, I think is the most challenging thing.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I can only imagine. I focus on the content side, so you're like directly engaging the community, which is a totally another level as well. So, okay. And how about what is the most positive experience that you've had so far working here?
I think the most positive ones have been at the offsites. Number
Mm,
one, I was in India meeting my
yes.
colleague Harshith
Uh huh.
because he wasn't able to get a visa to the US so far. So it was just like magical to, come to him and have the whole team meet. And the other magical ones were at our offsite in Mexico. Just like meeting people face to face. I never thought I would say this because I love remote work. I would not have it any other way, but meeting people like in real life actually matters.
Yeah,
So,
it's amazing, right? The connections you build. I mean, you meet someone through Zoom, Google Meets, whatever. And from my experience, when you communicate with people over a window like this, right? It's kind of like talking to someone through the window of your car. You know, when you're driving down a road, you see humans. They're human, but there's no like bond there, right? But when you
yeah.
actually bring people together in your retreat, like we went to London, and etc. Or we had our launch in April, and now Mexico next week for me. The relationships you build in person, it just doubles, right? It adds up on top of the relationships you build over Slack, right? So
Hmm.
that's exciting. Well, and I'm excited. So I'm going to Mexico next week. What did you like the most about Mexico? Your favorite activity, or I'm not sure if you're doing different activities. If you did
Yeah,
different
I don't know.
activities.
Hmm. Oh, because you've already picked yours, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, let's see. I think the snorkeling tour was one of the most fun
Oh,
things,
yeah.
but
No sharks.
no sharks. But I think the best was just like being there and taking in like the beautiful sky and the ocean, and just like taking in the atmosphere. And we had a mini hackathon, and our VP of engineering encouraged everyone to just like go out to the beach and hack on the beach, because what kind of offsite hackathon is it if we stay in this like, office space? So, yeah.
No, that's awesome. Wow. Well, I'm excited for you. You've been here only 4 months. Uh, I'm excited.
How long have you been here?
I joined on. That's a good question. I've been here. What month are we on? This October. It's October.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I've been here 10 months so far.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been great.
Wow.
Working at a larger company, like for example, working at where I came from at a larger company, everything moves slow, and so joining a startup has been a big whirlwind for myself, especially at a hyper growth company like this, where we're hiring so many people, so many different moving objects in our organization, and everything's fast paced. And I actually prefer that. I love it because it's every week's different, literally, right? Our hackathon was supposed to start on October 11th, and we moved it to October 3rd, and I was still out of the country. I was in Europe at a conference learning all these
Wow.
things. So a lot of things change, but it's fun. Days move by really fast. Like I can't believe it's already almost 2 p.m. Wow.
Yeah.
So for you, I think you're in the East Coast, right? So it's just about 5 o'clock.
Yeah, where are you? West Coast?
Yeah, I'm in the West Coast. I'm in Las Vegas right
Okay.
now. Yeah. Um.
Mm.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
are there any last things you want to share with the community? Anyone that's probably interested in joining Airbite? Anything anyone's watching.
Sure, yeah. I guess in relation to our Hacktoberfest this month, we rolled out this wonderful low code CDK, and we would really love everyone to try it out, experiment, test it out, tell us what's wrong or what's right with it. Hopefully, there are more things right with it than wrong. Yeah.
Yes, our hackathon, Hacktoberfest. I'll put it in the link in the description below. For every approved PR, you will receive $500. And for the contributor that creates the most PRs, right, that get approved, of course, will receive $1,500. Second place, $1,000. Second place, $750. Third place, I think $500. On top of all the connectors you build, right? So this is really exciting. And using a low-code connector compared to our Python CDK, it's called a low-code CDK for a reason, because it's much easier to create a connector. I feel like it's the easiest $500 you can make in your life, building something in 30 minutes, maybe an hour. That's $500 an hour. If it takes 2 hours, you're making $250 an hour. How many developers make $250
That's
an
not
hour?
bad.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I think that's pretty good. So yes, thank you for bringing that up. Perfect. Well, all right. Now, I really thank you for being on this call. And everyone, if you haven't yet, let us know what you think. Any thoughts about Nataly's experience from being a violinist, surviving the pandemic, and now being an engineer here at Airbyte?